You've been notified that you are being removed from Canada and you feel like you're running out of options to seek safety, and a refugee claim is not an option anymore. So what do you do? So today I'm going to be breaking down what a pre-removal risk assessment, or also known as a PRRA, is, how you can apply, where to submit it, what happens after you submit the application. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Manush. I'm an immigration consultant here in Canada. I specialize in humanitarian and IRB cases. So for example, refugee case, pre-removal risk assessment, HNCs, and many other more appeals as well. If you're not following my channel, make sure you do. I post videos like this all the time, so make sure you follow and press that ring button so you can get notified of my new videos. So pre-removal risk assessment is an application where you write in writing why you face risk returning home. An important note here is that you cannot apply for a pre-removal risk assessment unless the CBSA officer says you can and they provide you the application. That's why you cannot find it online. If your application is approved, you might be able to remain in Canada and in certain circumstances even apply for a permanent residency. So how are pre-removal risk assessments assessed? First things first, they assess you founded fear of persecution based on race, nationality, political opinion, membership in a particular or social group, or religion. They can assess you based on whether you face a danger of torture, a risk to life, or cruel or unusual treatment. Important note here, guys, if you have issues based on serious criminality, security, or under Article 1F, you will only be assessed under risk and you may not be eligible for a permanent residency. So what are the deadlines and what is a stay of removal? A stay of removal is basically stopping your removal until your pre-removal risk assessment application is assessed. But not everyone is actually able to have this stay of removal. First, you got to meet the deadlines. If you don't meet the deadlines, then a stay of removal will be removed and your removal will proceed. Keep in mind that only those who have their first pre-removal risk assessment are eligible for a stay of removal, not individuals who are their second or third or more pre-removal risk assessment applications. Remember, deadlines are strict. Missing them could mean that your protection will end. First things first is that you have to submit the IMM 5508, and you also have to submit application and documentation showing that you have a serious risk to your life. Your written submission and your documentation, and they can include things like medical records, country conditions, affidavits, etc. You have a limitation of what you can provide to IRCC if you had your refugee claim rejected. Like, you can only submit new evidence or evidence that you could not have reasonably obtained during your refugee claim process. So how do you submit your pre-removal risk assessment? Well, there's two ways. There's one way, which is the paper way, and you can just send in your application to the humanitarian office of IRCC in Vancouver, or you can send it through Canada Post Connect portal. But remember, you need to have obtained this portal access as soon as possible, and it takes a few days for it to get set up. So make sure you get access to it right away. If you have a council, then they will also have to create their own, and they will have to take a few days to be able to set up that portal. Individual who has to apply for a pre-removal risk assessment, make sure you contact us to set up a consultation so we can assist you through this process. It is a very extensive and long process with a lot of documentation, a lot of legal arguments that need to be presented in order to submit a strong application.